All right, so David Martin is joining us now from the Pentagon. David, let's start with sort of the latest news that we have out of Iraq. Why exactly are some U.S. embassy workers being ordered to leave the country?
Well, U.S. officials say they have intelligence, which they call both credible and urgent, that Shia militias inside Iraq are being ordered by their patrons in Iran, specifically the Iranian Islamic Revolutionary Guard, to prepare to conduct attacks against American troops and American diplomats in Iraq. The order, as far as the U.S. knows, an actual order to attack, to execute the attacks, has not gone out, but it is believed that they have been told to get ready, the Shia militias have been told to get ready to conduct attacks.
David, U.S. allies are skeptical of any increased threats to forces in Iraq and Syria. As you know, British Major General Chris Geeka spoke about this to journalists at the Pentagon via video from Baghdad. I want to play a bit of what he had to say and then talk to you.
There are a range of threats to American and coalition forces in Iraq and Syria. We monitor them all. Iranian-backed forces is clearly one of them. And I'm not going to go into the detail of it, but there are a substantial number of militia groups in Iraq and Syria, and we don't see any increased threat from many of them at this stage.
David, what was the reaction from the Pentagon to Major General Geeka?
Well, one officer I talked to used the word flabbergasted. And the Pentagon, specifically the U.S. Central Command, which is responsible for Iraq, put out a statement basically repudiating what the British general had said and reiterating that there are real and credible threats against Americans. But the problem here is that the details of the intelligence are not being released, and they are being very closely held, in fact. And without the details, it's easy to become skeptical about exactly how good the intelligence is. But all I can tell you is that I've talked to several officials, including a couple who are not in favor of U.S. policy in Iraq. And even those officials acknowledge that the threats of attacks by Iranian proxies appear to be credible.
Okay, that's interesting. So, David, you know, the president denied reports that there was a plan to put as many as 120,000 troops in position in the region. But we know that the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier is there. Do we know what the plan is in terms of the military, or what the situation is in terms of U.S. military in the region?
Well, we already have 4 B-52 bombers that were sent to the region shortly after this intelligence was picked up. They're already at a base in the country of Qatar, which is at the head of the Persian Gulf. The aircraft carrier Lincoln and its escort ships had to come through the Suez Canal and then around Yemen and Saudi Arabia before they get to the Persian Gulf. They will get to the entrance to the Persian Gulf in the next couple of days, but the real, I think, moment of truth will come when the Lincoln decides to transit through the Strait of Hormuz into the Persian Gulf, because when it does that, it will be passing right under the nose of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Navy, which patrols the Strait of Hormuz, and that will be a period of time when a miscalculation could lead to conflict.
All right, David Martin, you're following developments for us from the Pentagon. Thank you, David.
Sure thing.